Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. This is a review of the Longines Lindbergh 47mm automatic. You have the standard version here, as well as a limited edition version for the 90th anniversary of Charles Lindbergh's first solo transatlantic flight from New York to Paris. That happened in 1927. Charles Lindbergh was the person that originated the complication in this watch, which is called the hour angle complication. This watch is sometimes known as the Longines hour angle or the Longines Lindbergh hour angle watch, and I'll explain that in just a moment. So let's talk about the limited edition really first and get this one out of the way. This is a limited edition of 90 pieces, same 47.5mm wide case size, limited because they're trying some new things here in the watch. For example, the case, the middle case here is titanium. The bezel is PVD black coated steel, and there is no opening case back, which is actually one of my favorite parts on the standard edition. So again, here they have attempted to modernize the look a little bit. My big problem with the 90th anniversary version are the hands. These polished steel hands, as you can see, blend in considerably with the dial and create a legibility issue, which is a little antithetical to sort of the whole point of an aviator watch, which is essentially what this is. The hour and minute hands there are overlapping. I can move those just given the time it is right now. But you can see that on the white, mostly lacquer dial, the standard version of the Longines Linbergh is very, very legible. The strap on the limited edition is sort of a nice, I think they call it an aged or distressed or a vintage style leather. It's similar to sort of what a bomber jacket might be made out of. And I think that's the look they were going for. Like I said, most of the case is titanium, which allows it to wear a little bit lighter than the standard steel version, but I have to say I didn't notice too much of a difference. I do like the strap quite a bit. It fits comfortably. And again, even at a 47.5mm wide size, my under 7-inch circumference wrist is able to pull it off pretty well. So again, this is the limited edition. The price is similar to that of the standard version. Okay, let's move aside this one and go back to the one that I really like a lot. This is, in my opinion, up there with the Omega Speedmaster in terms of what I call historically important mechanical watches that are still made today and that I think are desirable. It's got a good look. If you think this look is too busy, Longines offers the same watch in terms of the case size, the movement, and even the theme, but with a simplified dial and without the rotating bezel here for a little bit less money. They're called the Weems watches. I'm not actually sure why, but I'm sure there's a good reason. But the Lindbergh one, there's just this one. So what is hour angle? Well, I don't exactly know the calculation or precisely how to use the complication, but essentially the idea is this. You use the watch, the sun, and a mathematical calculation to determine your longitudinal position on the Earth. It borrows a concept from sextants, which have been used for many years for sea navigation and for aviation. I don't know how often it's used, but Lindbergh obviously thought there was application here. So how does it work exactly? Well, you have to know exactly what time noon is. You then take off your watch and you line it up in such a way with the sun, and then you see the angle of the hour hand. You do a little calculation, you move it, and you see where the hour hand is in relation to the calculation, and that allows you to determine the position you're at from a longitudinal perspective, and apparently it can be done relatively precisely if you know the calculation. It is based upon the fact that from the Earth perspective, the sun makes one full rotation on a circle each 24 hours. And knowing that, you can use certain calculations here. If I've misinterpreted exactly how to use hour angle, I do apologize. I am admitting not to be an expert. I don't think that anyone will ever use it. As I say in the review article, such a system to determine your location has been made obsolete several times over with modern technology, but it's cool that it's there. Unfortunately, the bezel can't really be used for any other purpose other than that, so it's cool and it's there. And if you just like having a bezel to play with, you can definitely do that. There's another cool complication here which is related to it. Apparently it had something to do with syncing up the seconds hand with radio signals. So the middle disc here actually rotates, and this is actually one of my favorite features because you can actually use it. You see there's a 60-minute scale there. You can use it as an independent scale to measure 60 minutes, or hours for that matter, or 12 hours that is. So I would line it up here with the minute hand. I would put the crown back in, and I would just watch the hour hand along the scale on the disc. It's very similar, if not identical, to essentially how a rotating diver style bezel works that has a 60-minute marker in there. So it's not a new complication, but having it there on the disc is uncommon. And like I said, other than this and a few other Longines timepieces, I don't know anyone that does it. Longines made the watch 47.5 millimeters wide in order to remain true to the original that was developed in 1927, and then they came back with it a few years ago. It's a melding of vintage elements as well as new elements. Design, of course, is very vintagey. Steel case has a really nice hunter-style case back here. So you press this little pusher here. The case back opens up and reveals the movement compartment, which is really awesome. You can see a little bit of text in there. It says the Longines Hour Angle Watch, which is actually the only place it says it. It's not even officially known as the hour angle. It's just called the Longines Lindbergh 47mm automatic. Designed by Colonel Charles A. Lindbergh in automatic version. Of course, the original was manually wound because that's what they had back then. And I mean, I think there was there a few automatics back then? Maybe, but it was by no means common technology. Stainless steel, water resistant Swiss made. I actually haven't read this a lot. I love how they made water resistant one word. Don't think it actually is, but why not? And it's just in that cursive font, it looks attractive there. The movement compartment is really what's attractive. This movement is known as the caliber L699. This is the L699.2. The .2 was a slight update from the original X699. I don't exactly know what they upgraded. I wasn't able to find information on there. I think they just sort of updated it a little bit with some stability or performance upgrades. This is produced by ETA, which Longines and ETA are part of the same parent company, which is Swatch. So they have access to all this cool stuff, and they are known for occasionally bringing out little upgrades and things like that. This movement is based on the larger Longines family of slightly larger movements that came out circa 2009 to address the issue that a lot of today's watches that are larger were often using very small movements and consumers didn't really like the look. So again, this is a 47.5 millimeter wide watch, and when you open up the case back, you want to see a movement that more or less fits, and this does a great job. The movement is just over 36 millimeters wide, which is significantly larger than some of the other, simple three-hand movements that ETA makes. So I think it looks very attractive. They did a nice job with lots of perlage. You can see the Côte de Genève, the Geneva stripes there in the section right underneath where the automatic rotor is. More perlage on the rotor and a nice, really big automatic rotor. It looks cool, and I think they did an excellent job of having a modern movement fill up the case in a proper way, but also in a manner that looks, I don't want to call it look vintagey, but it looks authentic for the entire style. Nice alligator strap. This one, unlike the strap on the limited edition, is a little bit on the large size. So you can see here there isn't an additional hole that would allow it to sit as snug as I would want. It's entirely possible that Longines produces a smaller strap, but this is the one I have. So there again you have it. This is the version I like the most because of the dial. The dial's lacquer. If I was going to do a limited edition and I were Longines, I would think that an authentic enamel dial would be good. It's difficult to make enamel dials like this because you can see there's multiple colors on there. There's black and there's blue, and it's not that that's not possible to do, but scaling the operation and making a lot of them is challenging because there's a high failure rate. These have to be baked, or enamel ones do for that matter, and they can crack and there can be various types of visual aberrations that they don't want. So I understand how lacquer makes sense. The blued hands, I'm not sure if they're actually flame blued, but they did a very good job in rendering them. These are called palm style hands, otherwise apple style hands with little openings there, and Breguet is who made those popular. Proportions on the dial are good. The hands are the right length, especially in comparison to the hour markers. So from a tool watch perspective, it does a lot of things correctly. And again, I really like using that inner rotating disc. It's fun to use and it's genuinely practical. The movement, 4 Hertz automatic, 46 hours of power reserve. Just the time. I believe the movement itself obviously has more, but the way it's rendered here is very, very clean. And again, when this watch was new in the late 20s, This was essentially a pocket watch strapped to the wrist, which is why the case size is as big as it is. Again, this is the Longines Lindbergh 47mm automatic, aka hour angle. Great timepiece, definitely a classic. A lot of history behind it, a good story. Will you use the complication and the hour angle system? Probably not, but otherwise, I think the story and the sort of aesthetic and why people like vintage style tool watches is all right here. Price for this version and the limited edition are about the same. Retail price for this is $5,000. You can see the full review on aBlogtoWatch. Thanks.